All right. Well, so Jarrod and I today are so excited to be presenting Level Up. It's advancing child life interventions through the power of gaming and technology. So we'll get started and kind of give you guys some insight into what exactly we'll be talking about today. I'll let Jarrod explain this slide.
Well, just our little character selection, since we are a gaming and technology group. I figured what better way to represent us than through gaming characters. Laura here is a little on the low side of the gaming hours compared to me, but we are here to teach you some things about what we do.
And as you can see, I'm one of our certified child life specialists who's at INTEGRIS Children's, and Jarrod is our amazing gaming and technology specialist. And I'll work on my gaming hours. I'll get up there. So we have 4 main objectives that by the end of this presentation, we're hoping that you guys will just walk away from it and be like, yeah, they totally nailed all 4 of those. So first level is really just focusing on technology awareness. Many of you probably already have gotten the experience to navigate some of these items, but we want to be able to identify the technology that we use to improve patient care in our hospital setting. Level 2 is really about how we take that technology and how we've been able to integrate it. So how do we integrate that gaming and technology in order to enhance the experience that our patients and families are having in the hospital setting? Level 3, funding strategies. Everyone wants to know how. So we're hoping to give you some methods on how to receive that funding. And then level 4, end-of-life integration. So as certified child life specialists, we often work with patients and families at times of grief and bereavement. And we've been so thankful and grateful to be able to utilize the skill set of Jarrod as well as the technology that he's brought onto our team in order to really enhance that legacy building and end-of-life situation. All right, we'll get started with our introduction. So you may be wondering, well, what is INTEGRIS Children's? So INTEGRIS Health Children's is a children's hospital within an adult hospital. We have 40-bed level 3 neonatal intensive care unit. We have 26 of our general pediatrics unit. So that's just a general floor. We get incoming surgeries. We do any and everything. And then the 10-bed pediatric intensive care unit is our PICU area, so much more intensive care for them. We also do, just a little bit more background, we also do a lot of outpatient procedures. So we do outpatient surgeries. We also have radiology. We have child life in the emergency department. And so know that while those are kind of our main focuses for this presentation, we also have a plethora of other areas that we cover as well. So our child life team, Jarrod, do you want to take this one away?
Yes, our child life team consists of our manager, Ashley Oakes, and then we have 9 other certified child life specialists on our team. And then luckily I was able to be brought on to be, I guess, a 10th member of the child life team as a gaming and technology specialist.
Whoop, whoop.
So the investments that we have here at our children's hospital that the kids can utilize are 38 PlayStation 4s, 1 in each of the rooms. We have 3 Xbox Ones. We do utilize those for the older kids. 2 Nintendo Switches, 2 Nintendo Wiis, and 50 iPads. The iPads are in each room so that the kids and the families can use.
The nice part too about the PS4s, those are all preloaded, so all the games are accessible, and Jarrod does a fabulous job of making sure that all of them are up to date so that we have the most up-to-date version of all the games. Also the Xbox Ones, we do have, is it 2, Jarrod, that are loaded with like 13 and up games? Is that right?
Yes.
Yes, so that's been a really great asset to a lot of our older adolescent patients, and even sometimes moms and dads or guardians that are in the room with an infant. Sometimes they need a little bit of that reprieve as well. And then, Jarrod, remind me how many of our iPads are actually in the emergency department too, where they are secured and able to go to different rooms without the process of losing them as well.
Yeah, so we have 2 iPads that are on mobile carts that can be pushed through the emergency department. We also have 2 iPads in our, I'm completely blanking on the name of it, but right after they get out of surgery and they're waking up from the anesthesia, there are 2 iPads that the children there can use to help them just wake back up and get back involved.
Perfect. Any questions so far? None. We're just doing that great of a job. Excellent. So next we'll kind of move forward. So would you like to level up? All you need is a gaming and technology specialist. We do have a question in the chat. It's, do you have a picture of your iPads on mobile cart?
I do not have it in this presentation. I am more than willing to email it out to you, though, if you would like, just to show you what they're like. They're just little skinny poles with the wheels on the bottom, the goosenecks, so that the iPads can be moved around a little bit so that they can use them.
And we can also share our emails in the chat at the end too. So if you guys want to send Jarrod questions or myself questions, you're more than welcome to.
I see another one though. How have you secured the devices? They are on the device itself, on the end of the gooseneck. There's a little clamp that you lock down with a key. I will admit they're not the most secure on those carts. Not as secure as the ones in our patient rooms. But the mobile carts down in the emergency department are usually utilized when somebody's in the room with them. So in the instance that if somebody took it, they would know who took it in that kind of instance.
All right, everyone, we have arrived to objective 1, technology awareness, so identifying the tech that we've used to improve our patient care. I'll let Jarrod take this one because he is the main one on this.
So I am in charge of our virtual programming session. We do everything. Let me rephrase that. We start by on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays by inviting them to join in a virtual presentation. Hopefully that will expand soon to include Tuesday and Thursdays. But for now, on Monday and Fridays, we play games of bingo. We have numerous different topics that we can play with. We could have Mario, everything from back to school to the fire department. We also bring in the special guest to do some of these things. For instance, about a month ago, we actually had the Edmond Fire Department. They came up and they hosted the bingo themselves with the fire department theme. So that was cool. And they brought their own fire department prizes. On Wednesdays, we have a group called Project Sunshine that we partner with. Many of you may have heard them. They graciously give some time for us on Wednesdays, a half hour, where the kids will join and they will play some form of trivia, whether it's guess that Disney character, guess the movie, guess the animal, something along those lines. And it's really went off really well, and a lot of kids are really enjoying it. We are also having a partnership with the International Spy Museum in Washington, D.C. We're actually going to have our very first showing with them on October 6th. So fingers crossed that goes really well. We walked through their presentation and it was really cool just to see like the things that they could deliver. They have it ranged for all ages, by the way. So if you are interested in that kind of stuff, and they are trying to reach out to more hospitals. So you might reach out to them if you're interested. And we are actually in the process of getting another group called Joy RX, who is prominently in the music section. So they'll play songs and music for the kids over the video chat and just let them enjoy the time that they have being with them and making the hospital stay here a little bit more relaxing for them.
And Jarrod, can you talk a little bit more about what platform we use for virtual programming? I don't know how many hospitals out there or how many people already utilize, like if they have closed circuit television. We use actually something different.
Yes. So currently we are using Microsoft Teams. That is our output. We are trying to get into the process of getting our own CCTV started so that the TVs in the rooms can all get them. We're getting new TVs for the rooms and new internet drops for them so that can all connect. But that is anybody that's done that process, it is a process and it has a lot of steps to jump through. So we are waiting for the CCTV, but Microsoft Teams is how we end up projecting all of the virtual programming that we do. And as we'll see on another slide, that we get them to join by using a QR code that they just scan with the iPads we've provided in the rooms, that they'll just join the Microsoft Teams call.
So next we have our iPad and mobile gaming carts. So as Jarrod mentioned, we have iPads in the room versus a checkout system. Pre-Jarrod, we actually had to rely on our staff and on our child life team to really be able to do any checking in or out of iPads, which can be really tedious, but also can cause a lot of opportunity for iPads to go missing or for different parts to go awry. And so something that was really great was being able to secure those items, which I know a lot of you were interested in how we secured them. And we've got a whole system thanks to Jarrod. And so that's been significantly able to improve our ability to not only retain the iPads and the electronics in the room, but also to be able to maintain them at an appropriate time and space and speed. So that way our patients and families are being able to utilize the most up-to-date iPad system available. And so that's been really, really great. As far as when we do have iPads that are for checking out, such as the mobile ones that we use down in the ED, as Jarrod mentioned, that's something that our ED child eye specialist will take the iPad on that little gooseneck rolling cart thing and take it over to the patient, and that allows her to be able to assess and see too where the iPad is and also alert the staff so that they're aware as well. Overall, we've seen that being able to have these iPads in room has significantly improved patient care because they're able to experience not only the normalization of having that technology that they're used to, whether it's from home or school, but they're also able to engage in so many activities. And the one like we just presented, the virtual programming piece, that's been made significantly far easier for them to connect without having to worry about if they have a device, if the device is checked out to them. And so that's significantly been able to improve not only their experience, but also the quality of normalization that they're getting.
As I stated before, we do use QR codes. We utilize those a lot. In the room, there is on the iPad cage where the iPads rest, there is a QR code that gives them the times and the dates of the virtual programming. We have also implemented on the iPads themselves TV guides and lunch menus, which is extremely helpful because a lot of the families don't know what you can get here and what is on TV and what channels, so they can use those. We're also utilizing the QR codes for donation lists. So anybody that feels like they would love to donate, then they can scan the QR code and they will receive a list of things that, here are things that we would really like to have. Obviously, you can donate whatever you would like, but that has helped a lot. And then social media, we've used that to help outreach and share our social media site for them. An example QR code, if you've never seen a QR code, I'm assuming everyone in this call has seen a QR code, but there is one in the bottom right corner. If you do scan that, you will get a full run through of Zelda, if you would interested in watching that sometime. But
That's awesome. And I think another piece that Jarrod kind of spoke to was even thinking about like how simple, like adding the TV guide lunch menu, like how stressful that can be for families to not know what channel Bluey is on this new TV in this new place that they've never been before. And so just really taking to heart how some simple technology can make such a huge difference for a lot of these patients and families. All right, objective 2. We've got all this great technology and it's amazing, but how do we integrate that gaming and technology to enhance the patient experience? And so we'll talk a little bit more about how Jarrod and I tag team quite a bit. So first is we want to touch upon VR. I know we have a couple of questions in the chat as well. Someone asked about which apps were the most used. And I'm not sure, Jarrod, if we have a way to pull like top 10 apps or not. But I know that is a question. So I know that we're seeing them and I will try our best to get to them as soon as we can.
Real quick, I can answer a couple of those though. So it says, do the iPads access the browser and camera? They do have access to the camera. We have locked down the Photos app itself though. So they can only use the camera itself just to scan the QR code. It will not allow them to take pictures and store them. And that is because, to answer that next question, they do all share the same Apple account. They're all on a child's, we have a child's account that we add all of the games and that stuff to. They can access all that, and it makes it a lot easier just to keep track of if they're all on one account. So then you're not buying the same game multiple times. It's all in one.
Another piece I saw someone ask about languages. I will say that we actually, another piece to the iPads in the room that has been really beneficial for patient experience and patient care is that we actually have all the we have our translator app on all the iPads in the rooms as well. So if for some reason a physician or a nurse is unable to find the original translator iPad that we have on wheels that can roll around, we do have access to that on the iPads, which has been a really big game changer.
And we actually have, I don't know, Laura, if you actually knew, we actually integrated the translation portions onto each iPad themselves. So they each have their own translation app on there.
Yep. Okay. All right, so we'll jump back into VR and then we'll keep answering questions. Thank you guys for putting them in there because this is amazing. We love getting to answer all your questions. So VR, so we have two different situations that Jarrod and I tag teamed on being able to utilize my child life skills as far as being able to make sure the child is coping well during procedures or during new interventions, but then also how do we integrate technology to be able to better enhance those skills. So our first example was a physical therapy session. We had a patient who is actually has undergone multiple surgeries and had a very extensive surgery that required them to be able to practice walking again. And so one thing that we kind of brainstormed on, Jarrod and I, was I knew this patient increased in anxiety when having to be presented with the moment of getting up from bed and moving around. And so knowing that, I reached out to Jarrod and was like, hey, I need something that is going to be able to really transform his environment so that way they're not focused on the situation at hand, but instead we can give them a different experience. And so Jarrod and I worked together and decided on the Shark Tank in the Starlight VR headset, which ended up being perfect. They were so excited. They walked and moved more than they had in any first session after a surgery. Family was uplifted to see not only the movement, but also just being able to see that there was joy in that movement, which was the first time that they had seen that in the many, many surgeries that this patient had undergone. And just being able to see how transformative technology had made this session was really cool. A second, procedural support. So as I mentioned, as a child life specialist, we provide support during procedures as well, and being able to help the child meet those coping strategies so that they can have a successful support during that procedure. And we had a patient who had undergone multiple pokes for IVs. They were extremely anxious to the point that they would try to get out of the bed. It would require multiple staff members to be able to assist them to hold still for the IV, and the IV was a crucial part of this patient's care. And so once again, Jarrod, my superhero, I wanted to be able to block the site of the IV needle because during our medical play session between me and the patient, I was able to assess that this patient seeing the poke was what was the trigger, not so much the cleaning or the wiping, but just the presence or being able to visualize that needle entering their skin was the part that was really triggering. And so together, Jarrod and I looked around and found a different VR game. I want to say it was Space Pups. Does that sound right, Jarrod?
It was Space Pups, yes.
It's one of my favorites. It's probably the only one I'm like extremely good at. But the neat part about Space Pups is that it has a what would you call it, Jarrod? The part where it like lights up and does all the cool stuff if you press the button 3 times.
The what? Say one more time.
So in Space Pups, if you press the circle button like 3 times, hyper mode, yes. Yep. So there's lots of bright colors. It just is a total distraction. So I tried to time the insertion of the poke with oh my gosh, my accessing of hyper mode. And so it was really cool to see, because this child didn't require additional help to hold still, was able to hold still throughout the entire IV placement. They actually ended up having to do it using ultrasound guided, which means it was a little deeper. And this child was able to hold still without any additional staff members, was able to play and enjoy like just being at bedside. And I just think that knowing the before and after, the mom looked at both Jarrod and I, and she was like, I don't know how you guys did this, but he's never been this calm for a poke ever in his life. And so I think that speaks volumes to how we can really change that patient experience. And so I'm always really thankful for Jarrod for going along with my shenanigans.
And just because sorry, I didn't miss what you were asking me, because I was reading some of the questions in the chat. So I heard somebody say, have you been able to delete the FaceTime and text? Yes, those, along with like the photos and numerous other apps, we have completely locked. Like they don't even show up on the iPad at all. And then there are times the iPads have been prioritized for the interpreter. Well, we have specific iPads that are on mobile carts that have green cases around them. Those are specifically for the translators. So those get utilized before the room ones do. The room ones are just in case the 3 or 4, I think we have 4 translator iPads are in full use. Then they have another opportunity to use the translator. But for the most part, it's the ones that are the iPads that are in the room are used just for the patients and the families, just to play and have fun on.
Great questions. Ooh, I see there's in the other room, iPads and the green translation iPads on the same internet network.
Where are you seeing that one?
I think it just popped up.
Oh, are the iPads in the room? The iPad, yes, they are all on the same exact network. I don't know. I don't know if there's much to say about that one.
We will ponder that one, and we'll get back to you. So another piece of technology is our spectrum. So how many, I guess, I'm sure there are plenty of you that are aware of what the spectrum is, but if not, Jarrod, do you mind giving us a quick kind of like summary of what spectrum does?
Yeah, Spectrum is a fun musical tool that the kids can use. It comes with 2 sensors that go on your fingers. You can either put them on whatever finger you're comfortable with, but it comes with a mat that has different colors on it. It kind of looks like a piano almost. When you download an app for the Spectrum, a certain app, when you touch those sensors to a certain color, it will play a certain sound, and you can change the sounds in the app. So if you're like, I want more on the hip hop side, or like the EDM side, or some heavy metal drums or something, you can change the sounds. So then when you touch like the color blue, it'll make like the cymbal sound. And then when you touch the color yellow, it'll be the snare drum. Or you touch a purple and it'll give you like a nice beat in the background. So then you can add in your own sounds. And it's really easy to play with. You can record your own songs. And the kids have really enjoyed it so far. I've enjoyed it so far.
It's been amazing. I just saw someone write that they've been discontinued, which breaks my heart, because we've had multiple patients that have benefited tremendously from them. 2 examples I'll go over really briefly are our neurodiverse patients for sensory input. So as Jarrod mentioned, whether that's being placed on a certain finger, being able to hear that sound or that repetitive beat has been really helpful, to the point that we've even created songs on the way to the OR or the operating room. And so I'm working with patients and being able to utilize not even outside of like that piano color wheel, we've used touching on I Spy books or touching on different things that really have opened up a whole new level. We had one kid who was determined to make a song before we got to the operating room, and then played it for the staff. And it was the coolest thing, and made that transition away from parents all the way to seeing new staff members that they've never seen before, a whole different experience for this patient. And they were pumped that people were dancing and like going along, and they were taking breaths. I may have tried to beatbox. I don't have that skill set, but I do have some sweet, sweet dance moves that I busted out. And so it was just a really fun way to get them involved, but also get them to be less afraid of that hospital experience.
And going back to a question I saw, it says, do you manage the settings using a special software or service through the iPads? We do use, it's called Workspace ONE UME or AirWatch through VMware. It is actually a system that the entire INTEGRIS Health network is connected to, as far as like all the devices. So anything from the iPads to our SpectraLink phones that we use, they're all integrated into this website to where that we can control and do anything security wise. That's how we lock down the apps, and we can push out updates and everything through that software itself. Sorry, I keep going back and forth to these questions.
No, that's perfect. Infinity Ball, it allows us to be able to play multiple different games through touch and being able to move that through different patient situations. I've been able to touch base with Jarrod and brainstorm on how best to utilize these in some situations that I've encountered as a child life specialist. And two of the big ones that we really have utilized it multiple times for is building rapport. So making a therapeutic relationship stronger before separating from parents. Even I had a patient who wouldn't engage verbally with me, but was all about, which as we know, like play is a universal language. And so being able to utilize play through this ball and give them a goal, strengthen the relationship between me and that patient to the point that the patient easily separated from parents for a procedure. And so that was really cool to see. The other piece was physical and occupational therapy, so meeting needs for throwing or tossing, hand-eye coordination, etc. And so it just gives them a different way to play and be a kid in this world of amazing technology, but in the hospital.
And for those of you that don't know what the Infinity Ball is, if you are big fans of the show Friends, you might know the episode where Ross and Chandler and Joey and all of them start throwing the ball back and forth. And they're like, man, we've been throwing this thing for hours. Like, how many throws do you think we've done? Well, the Infinity Ball is amazing, and it connects to an app to where you can play certain games, and the ball will detect what game you're playing. So if you do something as simple as playing toss, it will count how many times you pass this ball, right? You're like, hey, let's reach 300 throws, right? Then you keep throwing. You could do a hot potato. So if the ball touches the ground, it senses it, and you lose the game. So that's what's the Infinity Ball is, for those that don't know.
Yes, and hot potato is a favorite for building rapport. You can even pass it to other people who maybe this child doesn't know, but it gives them a chance to build those connections. I'll let you take this one, Jarrod.
I'm not gonna lie. This is the one that you put on here. I didn't know what you were going for with it, Turnpike and Interstate.
So normalization, so that's something that we've been able to really utilize with some of this technology. And I believe my Turnpike Interstate might have been the child that wanted to check out Google Maps on the VR, and being able to just like see where their house was and see like where their street was. And it was just a really neat thing that like sometimes kids get homesick, and this child lived a few hours away from home, and so just wanted to check in on his street. And so I think that's a really good other component that was really neat to see as well. Obviously, there's lots of different normalization pieces that the technology we've been able to utilize, but that one was just such a unique concept and perspective that I hadn't really thought about, like how some kids maybe just miss their neighborhood, especially when they have to travel far away for a surgery or for a different treatment.
So sibling support. We have, again, virtual programming. Not only do the patients that stay here get to play, if they have a sibling in the room, we also provide the same resources for them to play and join us. So again, for like bingo, we'll give a bingo card for the patient and their sibling. And if the parent wants to play, we give the parent one. We have a lot of parents that they'll end up playing for their kids, because we do offer prizes for them, win or lose the bingo game, which I try to hopefully get every kid a win in there, even if it's like, hey, let's just keep playing until you win. then we provide that for them as well. We also have NICU support. So down on our 4th floor, we have our NICU, and this is where we have day in the life. So I have had the opportunity to go down and record some videos for some siblings that haven't gotten to come up and visit their little baby brother or sister that's in the hospital. So I go down and I'll record what it's like for their baby to be in the hospital, all the things they do, everything from getting their bottle to getting changed to if they have tummy time, anything like that, so that the parents or the siblings can see what their sibling is doing in the NICU, and they're not feeling like they're left out at home. They get to experience their sibling's life.
And that's been a really neat component too with bringing on Jarrod, is just being able to support siblings in a way that we hadn't in the future. We've been able to do, sibling visits, but it's just not the same, especially when infants in the NICU have specific times that they can do those items. And so Jarrod's been able to do a tremendous job of capturing that. And so not only do the siblings get to see that, but then this family has an amazing video of those first days, weeks, months in the NICU.
And Ryan, I appreciate that. I think that I like that too.
Okay.
So therapeutic activities that we also provide are voice recordings. So like the babies that are in the NICU and that are here for days and days, if not months, they obviously need to hear their mother or father's voice. So we do have recorders that the family can record different things. We've had one family that they brought, I think it was like 12 people. It was like aunts and uncles and cousins, and they all came and they sent a message to the baby that was here. I managed to put it all together to where it could fit onto a recording device, and then that device is set inside their crib, or whatever you want to call it, the little incubator, to where they can be pushed and they can hear the different voices from their family members, which is just a way to connect them with their family even more.
And another thing too that's been really nice is, with those therapeutic activities, our goal is to ensure that we're really establishing those connections that were outside of the hospital to begin with, or being able to help a child or even the children of adult be able to process and be able to continue to do well and cope with the hospitalization. And so another piece too, we had a father who was in our burn ICU, and so we were actually able to also record like positive affirmations from the family, including the children of that patient, so that during physical therapy sessions and things of that nature, if they needed that boost of encouragement, they had that there, even if the children couldn't be at bedside all the time. And I think that's a really cool way to see how technology keeps us connected too. All right, so bereavement is a component of our job as certified child life specialists that we do, which allows us to provide support for grief and death of a patient or of a patient's or of a family member. And so one thing we've been able to do is utilize not only pictures of patients, but also incorporating that with audio, whether that's audio of the patient and what they're doing, or whether that's family audios as well. Sorry, I'm checking the messages. Do the ideas for these interventions generally come from initiatives that staff come up with, or more from patients and families telling staff what they wish they could have? So that's actually part of our role as certified child life specialists, is to be able to create these ideas, and Jarrod is our magical unicorn that makes things happen. And he's also a great brainstorming partner. If I'm like, hey, this is like my dream, what do we do to get there? And he's been fabulous at being able to do that as well. So typically, for the majority of it, it has been led by staff who then create these opportunities that we offer to patients and families. Obviously, we want to give them choice. So that's kind of that piece. Do you have child life staffing on the adult side to help facilitate this for children of adults? It's a consult system. So we have a system through Epic where our adult units can put in a consult for child life, and then we get that consult and we provide support to the children of the adults on that side. And then what kind of device are you using for the voice recordings? So for our infants, Jarrod, do you remember the name of it's like a little heart shape.
Literally Blue Heart recorders record is what they're called. They're just little hearts that have a little speaker and a little tiny microphone for you to record. I think it's up to like 15 minutes worth of recording. And then just every time you push the button, it restarts the whatever you have recorded on there. And so they can play it as many times as they want. They can take it home with them. It is a free service that we provide for them.
I will say being mindful of the NICU infant's brain development and just being mindful of where that placement of that recorder is, because we want to make sure that it's not at too high of a decibel that would cause harm to their hearing, especially since they're still developing in the NICU. So that's just something to be mindful of. So that way you're ensuring that you're giving this great quality work, but also that it's meeting the needs developmentally as well. Okay.
Sorry. Yeah.
No, you're good. Objective 3, funding strategies. So methods on how to receive funding. Data was a huge piece. Jarrod does a fabulous job of inputting statistics on Epic. We've been able to work with our Epic users to be able to create a system where Jarrod is able to document what he did for patients in our chart, and also how much time was spent. I mean, it's like a whole, you can speak more probably to the pieces of it, Jarrod, but there's definitely time that's involved and what different types of things that Jarrod was able to do for that patient that then gets documented, that our manager can then pool that data to show his time and his consults and things of that nature. Do you feel like that sums it up well enough, Jarrod?
That's perfectly, yeah.
You want to talk about connect to purpose? If not, I can take it away.
You go for that one.
Okay, so connect to purpose is something that is utilized within our hospital that allows our leadership to be able to see the impact we're making through stories from patients and families. And so connect to purpose is something that we utilize to really be able to showcase all the great things that Jarrod was already doing. Our patients and families were really vocal about the great work that Jarrod was doing, and so those stories escalated up to our leadership. And so it was neat to be able to see how our leadership was able to identify Jarrod's role and how important and impactful that was, as well as having that data. The biggest piece for us that kind of got us off the ground was Child's Play Grant. Thank you guys so much, because as you can see, our world is so much better at INTEGRIS Health Children's because of Jarrod. And so without you guys, there's no way we would have been able to accomplish even half of these things without him. And so that was a really big piece. And then finally, professional development. So trainings and information about new technology, we were able to utilize this piece as well in talking about how important Jarrod's role was, but also how long lasting we wanted to make it, because technology is always changing and there's always something new, or there's always something that's adapting. And so being able to showcase that we've got this expert that's then able to help us do our jobs better was a big piece as well. He does a fabulous job of training us on all the new technology. He is so patient, which I'm bragging on him like he's not even here. But it's just a really cool way that we were able to secure that funding for him to be full-time with us. And so it's just been a really great experience. So hopefully some of those components could also help you guys.
And you can brag all you want.
And then objective 4, end-of-life integration. So gaming and technology, but how do we incorporate that into legacy building and end-of-life situations? So we have done different types of legacy building. And for those of you who are like, I don't know what that is. So in the child life world, one thing that we do is something called legacy building, which kind of documents this patient's life over time versus just at the end of life. And so we call that legacy building. One particular piece that really stands out is we had a patient in the NICU, or in the PICU, excuse me, who was able to give her life story. She was paralyzed from the neck down. And she was able, one of her wishes was to be able to make a cake. And so we ended up getting this fabulous opportunity to have the head chef at INTEGRIS Health come and make a cake with her. And so PT and OT were able to help you to move her hands and things of that nature. And then even our local news stations covered it, and all that video and great information came from Jarrod. Jarrod, you can totally add anything else that you feel like needs to be added for that.
Yeah, I was just going to say that the only thing that she asked for was, she asked for 4 things. One, to tell her life story, which I ended up recording. Her mom was the one that ended up talking about it because she was trached and she could not talk. So her mom gave I think it was like a 13-minute life story about her. She also forwarded on some pictures and videos from her growing up that I ended up putting it all into a larger video for them to take home. The second thing she wanted, like she said, was to make a cake. So we had our head chef come up and we got the news station. The third thing being she wanted to be on the news. So the news heard wind of this story through a little birdie, and they covered her doing this. The fourth thing we could not actually get for her. It was quite a big one. She wanted to have her own show on Netflix or be featured on Netflix, but that is something obviously we could not do. However, we tried, we reached out, didn't hear anything. So, but we got 3 out of 4. I feel like that's a pretty good.
I mean, genies grant 3 wishes. So I think we were pretty spot on there.
We're like the genie from Aladdin. I mean.
And so this is just a recap of the 4 objectives that we gave you guys at the beginning.
So we just have the technology awareness, the vast array of technologies available that empowers us to elevate patient care in the previously unimaginable ways, the tech integration, which is seamlessly integrating gaming and technology to create enriched experiences that resonate within children in unique and impactful ways, end-of-life integration. Even in the most challenging times, gaming and technology offers avenues for legacy building and profound connections during end-of-life situations, and funding strategies, exploring diverse funding strategies that enables us to harness the resources required to make these interventions a reality.